Success Radio USA is always looking for ways to help you succeed. Whether it's offering a word of encouragement or sharing practical information that can give you the competitive edge. So you'll want to pay close attention to this. Our new sponsor, the 365 Grand Club, can give you the edge when conducting business in downtown Colorado Springs. You might want to entertain a potential client or just show appreciation to a loyal business partner. Either way, your new 365 Grand Club card is your passport to downtown Colorado Springs. Your club card gives you access to discounts, business perks, making new business connections, and the convenient private concierge service that makes getting around town hassle-free. Enjoy the benefits of downtown with ease and prestige. Get your club card today by visiting www.365grandclub.com. That's 365grandclub.com. Get yours this week and join the club, the 365 Grand Club.
Okay. Welcome, and thank you for listening to Success Radio and Profiles of Success. I'm your host, Chuck Bader.
And I'm Jerry Evans. Once again, we are here, and it's always a pleasure to be here on the program on Profiles of Success here on successradio.us.
Absolutely. And we have a repeat guest again, and we wanted to bring her back because in the first show, we really got into a lot of content that, of course, really needs to be expanded upon, really needs to go in depth upon, because there's a lot of practical how-to steps. So in the previous show, we talked about the general concepts, which is what a lot of seminars or books will talk about. But where they, I think, are lacking sometimes is they don't tell you, okay, so tomorrow morning, here's what you do. And so we wanted to have Ariaa back to talk about that again. So thanks so much for coming back on the show. We appreciate that.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here with both of you today. Looking forward to getting right into it and helping your listeners perhaps improve the quality of their life and the lives around them.
Exactly. And that's the foundation of what we're doing here is kind of showing people, for lack of a better term, the truth. Because there is so much misinformation out there from people that they trust. For example, you hear it all the time. Somebody... A teenager, for example, wants to have these big dreams and ambitions, and the parents or their friends or the teachers or the preachers, whatever, will try to talk them out of it because they have not tried to pursue those dreams. They have not had the experience of successes. They may have tried and failed, and it's a natural thing to want to protect other people. And so well-meaning intentions from trusted people can unfortunately hold people down with ambition to achieve greater things.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think part of my work really emphasizes people finding their own personal power from within, therefore not having to rely upon the outside or on others. You know, I tell people that, you know, when you start accessing your own inner power, there is nothing you can't do save your own thoughts of limitation. And that's the only thing that will hold you back.
Oh, yeah. And classic case, we talked about this before, but it bears repeating and repeating and repeating. A little kid named, well, back in the day, a little kid named Farrah Gray, Farrahgray, a 9-year-old kid in Chicago, Illinois. Not even a high school education, right? But here's a kid who had the power of belief put into him. And here's somebody who never doubted anything that was told to him by well-meaning and well-informed. It was a grandmother and an uncle, I think it was. And they told him he's the golden child and he's going to be a millionaire. And he believed that. And you talk about the power of affirmations and the power of visualizations and the power of action. What this guy did, Farrah Gray, was because his grandmother and his uncle told him, you know, you're going to be a millionaire someday. And he believed it at 9 years old. So he got himself a set of business cards, and I think he wrote down 21st century entrepreneur with his name on it. Hand wrote these cards, right? And so when he would go to door with a little lunchbox that he turned into a briefcase selling painted rocks or shampoos or things like that, his confidence and his enthusiasm, even at that level, got people to buy.
Sure.
And so because he kept doing this and believing this and saw the results, he grew into it, to cut to the chase of the story, 12 years old, 3 years, the guy's a millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's just the power of belief like you talked about.
That is the power of intention and the power of belief. And I think that goes to Jim Carrey's story.
Oh, my
gosh. Years ago, you know, he told the story of how he wrote himself a check when he was just a waiter. He wrote himself a check for $10 million, and he literally put for acting services.
Did you see Chuck?
Just because of Jim, baby. Just because of Jim. I'm going to give it a shot, right?
Yeah, he's shown me that check before.
Well, he wrote himself for acting services rendered. He took it up to Mulholland Drive, and he would hold it up and show it to the universe. And on the day the check was due to be cashed, he signed the deal for The Mask for $10 million.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
That's amazing. Yeah, and again, it is about your intention. It's about how you formulate your thoughts, your words, your actions, and how you negate any kind of negative thought. In other words, the minute you have a negative thought, you reverse it immediately.
Oh, yeah.
You don't let those just seep out. You hone your intentions, and you know that you know, and it's energy. Again, I wanted to read a Tesla quote because I really love Tesla.
Yeah.
And Tesla wrote, if you want to understand the universe, think energy, frequency, and vibration. And everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. And however high your own personal vibration is, and by that I mean if you're drinking heavily, if you're smoking heavily, if you're, participating in things that really lower your frequency, you're going to have to hone your energy far more in a concentrated way. If you're meditating every day or doing some practice like meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, things like that, you're eating healthily, you're eating or getting proper exercise, things that will keep you healthy, happy, and whole, both mind, body, and spirit.
How about bowling every day?
Well, that's meditation, possibly.
That is kind of a form. You do have to get in the zone. My bowling, I don't think I'd get in the zone.
Off the cuff, I just say something really weird, don't I?
Gotta keep her on her toes.
Well, that and raking forests. We could all go rake the forest,
Okay.
So,
I'm there. Okay.
But you say for Jim Carrey, though, it was a vital factor.
yeah, it really was, but he believed it.
Right.
He held the checkup, and he believed it with every ounce of his being.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in those that succeed and those that do not, is how much you pour that belief in and create your own reality. And we are creating it. Whether you like it or not, there is absolutely no limitation save what you believe in, and your belief is what limits you. So it depends on how much you believe that you can make something happen versus how much you believe the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And so many people shun that off, or they think it's not really a factor. But again, when you see a 9-year-old kid who in 3 years without a high school diploma is a millionaire, first guy in Wall Street at age 14 had an office in Wall Street, couldn't even drive himself there because he didn't have a driver's license.
Oh, yeah.
Man hired a chauffeur, not a bad deal.
I was going to say, you hire the chauffeur, you get him there. And
there's a way to solve the problems with enough money. Yeah, you can say that, but yeah.
Exactly.
And Mary Kay Ash is another example of what you're talking about. Every
Yeah.
time that she had a negative thought in her mind, her first response was delete.
That's it.
She would not allow those in there.
Or I always say cancel if I
There
get
you go.
one.
There you go.
And again, this goes to stepping out of judgment. Because every time you judge another person, again, you lower your vibration. Every time you feel sorry for yourself, you lower your vibration. Every time you think you don't have enough, or you fear lack or poverty or any of those things, you lower your frequency. Every time you do a kind act, every time you pay someone a compliment, every time you stay centered and you pray effectively, Exactly.
The producer's commenting me in my headphones here. Voices in my head.
Damn, I thought he was
feel
talking
great.
to me.
Well, he did say Chuck.
You guys without saying
You look
for me,
great, but
it's,
Chuck, this is a vast improvement, let me tell you. I was wondering if he was leaving me out,
How concentrated their energy is. And it is all about energy. It's all about absolutely how much you're projecting, and what you're getting back will absolutely match. In other words, if you want to match something, all you have to do is put it out there, and the exact frequency will come back to match it, one way or another.
Let me give an example here, and maybe you can expand on this. Somebody who is, been doing something for, let's say, 12 years, and they're in their 12th year of doing such a particular act, and out of those 9 years, they've stayed at one level. They never improve, they never get any better, or that is the perception of the people that are willing to advance this particular person or keep them in kind of in a contained type of box. What is your suggestion for something like that, as far as somebody coming back and saying, you know what, I need to get better, or I need to just face the reality that I'm not going to get better? Is that negative thought that you're talking about?
That's a negative thought. Because here's the thing. If it's meant to fall away, it's going to fall away. And if you've energetically flatlined at a job, are in some creative position that you're in, then maybe it's time to move on or shake it up and do something drastically different than what you're doing. You know, if you stop growing, you die. So the bottom line is that there is no such thing as, oh, this is as good as it could get for me. You literally are always improving, and you can always become more creative with those catalysts. So I think if you flatline after 9 years, maybe it's time to walk away and try something new.
So there you have it. I'm not going to tell you who I was talking about
either. Did I just give him free advice?
Possibly, yes. Just think your bill on that
one. I'm not going to tell you who I was talking about, but you can probably figure it out, right? Without going into great detail here, that's exactly what this particular person is doing.
Oh, good. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be $100.
I like her style.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't like her price tag, but I like her style.
Well, you got to look at the value for the recipient.
That's right. That's right. There you go.
Well, I know we're heading up on a break here pretty soon, but when we come back, and this is one of my favorite shows, is that you read about this in the John Assaraf book, Dean Graciosi, talk about vibrations, universe, Napoleon Hill, The Secret, and some people really get lost on that and they say, oh my gosh, how do I do that? So when we come back, let's talk about the daily things they can physically do to make that happen, as far as the meditation, the mindset, the education. And that's what I'm really pushing on this, is you got to start reading. You know?
Do. You absolutely do.
You can't get to where you are with the same knowledge you have right now. Einstein,
that's right.
I think it was Einstein said that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, but so right now, we need you to take the energy to lift a pad of paper and the energy to lift a pen and to write down. You're going to hear in these next 3 minutes the sponsors, the phone numbers, and the website addresses. You write them down. You put that dude on your refrigerator, and oh my gosh, my computer's not working right. I'm having a legal issue. Who do I call? There it is on the fridge. We're going to be right back on Profiles of Success.
Success Radio USA is always looking for ways to help you succeed. Whether it's offering a word of encouragement or sharing practical information that can give you the competitive edge. So you'll want to pay close attention to this. Our new sponsor, the 365 Grand Club, can give you the edge when conducting business in downtown Colorado Springs. You might want to entertain a potential client or just show appreciation to a loyal business partner. Either way, your new 365 Grand Club card is your passport to downtown Colorado Springs. Your club card gives you access to discounts, business perks, making new business connections, and the convenient private concierge service that makes getting around town hassle-free. Enjoy the benefits of downtown with ease and prestige. Get your club card today by visiting www.365grandclub.com. That's 365grandclub.com. Get yours this week and join the club, the 365 Grand Club.
It gives clarity to problem solving. It increases production and focus on the job. It alleviates sleepless and restless nights and fends off stress and tension headaches. No, it's not the latest energy drink or health supplement. It's Legal Shield. Get peace of mind every day, every night, now and forever. Legal Shield. Get it.
To find out more about Legal Shield and how it can protect your family and your business, call Andrea at area code 719-243-3174. That's area code 719-243-3174. Legal Shield. Listening to Success Radio USA at successradio.us. Success Radio USA is your source for inspirational, motivational, informative, and life-changing daily content. Thank you for listening.
Success Radio USA.
Welcome back. We went to Success Radio USA on Profiles of Success. This is your host, Chuck Bader, along with
Jerry Evans. That's all I got to say.
and our wonderful host,
Ariaa Jaeger.
There we go. So
Wow,
now we're
this
going to
is
pick
great.
up and put a boots on the ground approach. And I think this is where a lot of people will get lost in seminars and books, is that they hear about the deeper levels of what's causing the change, the vibrations, the energy, the positive thinking. But what they're lacking is the actual day-to-day practical steps. So obviously you've been doing this for quite some time. You counsel a lot of people. So what is, if you don't mind sharing it with us, what does your morning routine look like to get you in the right frequency, the right vibration, the right mental attitude every day?
Starts with gratitude.
Oh, there we go.
The minute you open your eyes, you ought to be counting your blessings because you opened your eyes. And not only that, but, you know, there's so many, especially with the fires in California and so
Right.
many
Oh my
people
gosh.
losing their homes.
Right.
There's so many people that don't have a warm bed to sleep in right now.
Yeah.
You know, so all the more reason to be grateful. And in this week of Thanksgiving, how can you not be grateful when you see so much destruction happening from hurricanes and shootings, and you know these families have lost their loved ones and their animals and their homes in California as well, and you know all of the things that are happening should set you in a mindset immediately to count your blessings that you are breathing, that you have eyes that see and ears that hear, that you have a healthy mind, a healthy body, that you can contribute to society, and that you enjoy the freedoms that this country affords us. So I always start counting my blessings, and then the very next thought is, how can I serve today? How can I add to or improve the quality of life for others around me? Because this role that we have as a human being, kind is built right in. It's about showing kindness. It's about lifting each other, supporting each other. And I promise you, if you start putting your focus on others, it really does change the entire trajectory of your own life. So gratitude is the first thing. Meditation. And that's not some Middle Eastern BS. That is literally sitting still, being quiet, allowing your blood pressure to slow down, your heart rate, your pulse rate, allowing your body 15 minutes every morning to just reclimate and get centered. And when you do that and you quiet your mind, you'd be surprised at how much answers and creativity will begin to flow. So that's another great way to start your day. The other part is don't criticize, don't condemn, don't complain. Try to stay out of the gossip. Try to stay away from people that are negative. You know, it's one thing to, you know, be around people that are talking about their sickness or disease. It's another thing to engage it and to and actually enable them to continue down that path. You know, I'm solution girl, and that's the reason my clients find me, is because I can give you 1,000 solutions for every problem. And that's what you should focus on, is the solution. And if you don't have the solution, get quiet, get still, and it'll come to you. Now, frequency, we talked a little bit about it last time, and I wanted to emphasize there's so many different kinds of frequency. There's electromagnetic fields, there's consciousness frequency, and there's human body frequency.
There's radio frequency.
And there's
That's true too, yes.
And frequency can be from anywhere from 0 hertz all the way up to 1,000 hertz, depending on which frequency you're talking about. The lower emotions are all below 150. Those are anger and fear and jealousy and pride and ego. All of those are the lower frequency of consciousness. When you get to higher frequencies, you become impervious to sickness and disease. And you also are able to manifest quicker, like The Secret talks about, although they put the emphasis solely on materialism, whereas I think The Power of Positive Thinking, which was written by Norman Vincent Peale in the late 50s, I think that's a far better book because there's an emphasis of connectivity to all things.
Oh, my gosh.
And I think that's terribly important that we recall and remember. It's not about stuff. You can't take this with you. It's about deeds. It's about actions. It's about words. It's about what you're putting into the world and what you're trying to create for your own personal paradigm.
And that's a great thing, too. And I love the fact you're talking about this because now, like when I was reading the book by John Assaraf, he talks about an experiment, and I don't have the details, but it was done by the Navy, I think it was. And they had taken a cotton swab from the inside of someone's mouth, the DNA, and they put it in a petri dish like miles away, 13, 14 something miles away. And then they were showing this person some kind of a film. And when this person would react negatively, this DNA, 13, 14 miles away, would react. It's like, oh my gosh. Einstein, I think it was the one who called it spooky stuff or something like that. I wish I had the details on it, but you're interesting how that can be that manifested, and that's where people get lost. But to bring it down, what you're talking about here, This is where this becomes very practical and very powerful because, like you said, in lower frequencies, those emotions are created by what you allow yourself to think about,
right.
whether it's negativity or doubt or questioning yourself or criticizing or gossip. So what you're saying, and I just want to make sure I'm tracking correctly, is that to get to a higher level of frequency, so to speak, it's a more relaxed level of emotion. And so let me ask you this question. Is there a correlation between what you would call frequency, like in your chart, and the brainwave frequencies of alpha, beta, theta, and delta? Is there a correlation between those two?
They run parallel.
Okay.
In other words, they one begets the other, so to speak.
Okay.
But, where my emphasis lies and where my expertise lies is in consciousness, because consciousness is, the scientists just did a study recently that they said even in inanimate objects, they believe there's some form, now not necessarily the conscientious form of consciousness, but they believe that all things have consciousness, and we know the universe is comprised of consciousness. So, like you said, if you put your DNA in one room and you go in the other room and you start sobbing, it will trigger the DNA, and you'll watch how you begin to mutate based on your mutations will actually change. Your genetic mutations actually change based on your own behavior and that of your family. That's what we also call epigenetics. Epigenetics is what the mother, let's say the mother was traumatized during pregnancy.
Oh, yes.
Well, then it carries into the baby's body.
Yes.
One of the reasons I emphasize with my pregnant clients not to dye their hair, not to go get tattooed while they're pregnant, and don't emote a great deal is because it's all going right there in vitro. So the baby is actually picking up on this cellularly. And epigenetics is the science of this kind of activity with feeling the emotions of those around you and the parents. With consciousness, you can alter your own mutations. You can alter your own DNA. People continually ask me why I've not been sick for 25 years, because I simply don't believe in it and have altered my mutations in such a way that it would be really hard for me to get sick. I would actually have to focus on it and try, because I've built up such a non-susceptibility to that belief system. Remember, one of the quotes I wrote is, reality is non-existent until you assign it a belief. The minute you assign it a belief that your body is weak or that you're getting old, and I make jokes about getting old,
especially with my birthday coming up.
Because God knows there's nothing gracious about it. It's just, it's just not a joy necessarily, and yet it is at the same time. People ask me why I don't dye my hair. Well, I want to see what I look like with a full silver head,
Right.
But when you talk about consciousness, you're talking about being able to override belief systems in the earth, that you have to have a flu shot. I don't believe that. I believe if you really feel you do, then you probably should, because you're going to create it otherwise.
Right.
So again, it's what you think and how you think. We talked about The Secret. We talked about The Power of Positive Thinking. But there's some wonderful other books out there, like The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East are 6 of the best books you will ever read in one set. And you can get them on Amazon. Conversations with God, Book 1 only, is amazing. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, another amazing book. We just lost a wonderful mentor. Shakti Gwain just passed last week. She wrote Creative Visualization. She was one of the 4 founders of creative visualization in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And she just passed last week at the age of 70. There are so many good books you can read and great videos of Adyashanti and Moshe and several of these others on YouTube. Even Dr. Wayne Dyer, The Power of Intention. Educate yourself. Learn that this is not fluff. This is not metaphysical mumbo jumbo. This is not some sort of lingo. This is reality. And when you study quantum physics, or you study those that teach quantum physics, you understand, just like Tesla, that everything is energy and frequency and vibration. And you learn to start attuning to the higher rhythms that will keep you healthy, happy, and whole.
And a few things I want to just throw in after you, Jerry.
No. Well, I was just going to ask. This is maybe a little bit completely off the base here, but I know Chuck is not the biggest sports fan and all, and I'm more of like that. But I was just wondering, when you're talking about the visualization, they tie that into sports a lot of times. They use the
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer and a lot of the athletes. They visualize that successful moment. That they're going to go through the hole in a football game, or they're going to make that 3-point basket in basketball. basketball or whatever the case might, make that
Right.
stunning shot in tennis. Those are things that they visualize before the match or before the game or something like that. Do you think that a lot of this stuff that you're talking about, these are things that they can use to reward their performance?
Most successful entrepreneurs do, and most successful athletes do. They understand that if you see the final result, you see winning, or you see success, or like Jim Carrey, you see a dollar amount.
Right.
That's exactly what you will create. But I always give it a little bit more latitude. If I were Jim Carrey and I'd written a check for $10 million, I would have written a check for $10 million, but as I was affirming it, I would literally have said, or greater. Or
Right.
greater.
This or something better someone else said.
Because
Yeah.
I believe, the universe always gives you 10 times what you're asking if you're really in that mindset of creating. And when people start understanding creating their own reality, then they'll become a lot happier and take more responsibility for how their thoughts are manifesting.
And we'll let you ask your question when we get back.
Yeah, when we get back. But now we want to talk about is people think, well, this is still fluff reality. And it's like when we come back, we're going to talk about multiple personalities and how that physically can change
Yes.
to validate this and the power you have over that.
What are you talking about?
Stuff.
What are you talking about?
But for right now, we want to manifest you. I don't know how much time I got, but pen, paper, website, phone number, and name of the company, and make sure that you call them when you need them. We're going to be right back on Profiles of Success.
Success Radio USA is always looking for ways to help you succeed. Whether it's offering a word of encouragement or sharing practical information that can give you the competitive edge. So you'll want to pay close attention to this. Our new sponsor, the 365 Grand Club, can give you the edge when conducting business in downtown Colorado Springs. You might want to entertain a potential client or just show appreciation to a loyal business partner. Either way, your new 365 Grand Club card is your passport to downtown Colorado Springs. Your club card gives you access to discounts, business perks, making new business connections, and the convenient private concierge service that makes getting around town hassle-free. Enjoy the benefits of downtown with ease and prestige. Get your club card today by visiting www.365grandclub.com. That's 365grandclub.com. Get yours this week and join the club, the 365 Grand Club.
This week, my name is Harley Mitchell. Next week, I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll use your name. You see, I'm a cyber criminal, and I steal information that defines who you are. Things like your driver's license number, your birth date, your home address, your office address, your social security number, your medical information, insurance cards, business licenses, and if I can get it, your birth certificate. If I can get one, I can get the rest. It's not personal. It's just business. Once I have your information, I bundle it with others and I sell it. Not just once, but over and over and over and over and over.
Due to recent massive data breaches, your personal information is now available for cyber criminals like Harley to buy and sell to their underworld counterparts for profit. Bad people with bad intentions hiding behind your identity. Don't be fooled and lock down your financial life. Use the professionals that Fortune 500 companies use, ID Shield and Legal Shield. It costs less and reaches further. Don't lock down your life. Call Ariaa Jaeger and get the right protection for the right problem. Ariaa Jaeger is your Lady of Justice. Call now at 719-243-3174. That's 719-243-3174. Listening to Success Radio USA at successradio.us. Success Radio USA is committed to helping you achieve a positive daily approach to your success each and every day. Thank you for listening.
Success Radio USA.
Here's my magnificent impression. Well, welcome back to Profiles of Success right here on Success Radio USA. I'm your host of Profiles of Success, Chuck Bader, along with
Jerry Evans, and don't give up your day job. Okay?
and
Ariaa Jaeger here.
There we go. So now a lot of people at that last segment are probably thinking about, oh my gosh, this show's getting way off in the weird zone or whatever like that. But now let's talk about the hard, proven, documented science behind everything we're talking about here. To the reference is Dr. Bruce Lipton, Lipton. And I forget what his title is, but anyway, this guy has looked at it on the very molecular level, and he has shown the way that you can actually change physically. And then going back to before I forget too, when you talk about not being sick, Jim Rohn, who was the mentor of Tony Robbins, talked about the fact that his dad never got sick the entire time. Jim never got sick the entire time. So it's not just Ariaa saying, well, I'm the exception. It's like, no, there's so many people that do that. And so now let's talk about other almost unrelated, but verifiable scientific proof about how you're able to change yourself physically. And let's look at people with multiple personalities. So I think John Assaraf talks in his book, The Answer, and then some other people talk about, Tony Robbins talks about it, but people with multiple personalities, in order to survive, they were actually able to change the color of their eyes. They're able to acquire diseases or get rid of diseases, change genders, at least mentally, not physically, but when you can change eye color and you can get a disease or lose a disease, I mean, and the body physically changes on that level, and it's been proven, it's like, oh my gosh, what are we capable of, not on changing eye color or diseases, but just on, like Jim Carrey did, changing ourselves to be able to have the identity and the expectation to be able to acquire a lot of these successes or achievements that we want to bring into our lives. So you can kind of think your way into it to a certain degree.
Yeah, you can. And I think there's so much science that still has to be discovered on how the brain works.
Which they're working on with neuroscience now.
They are. Yeah, neuroscience is amazing. And unfortunately, we've only actually investigated the very smallest portion of the brain.
Yeah.
We have not gotten to the big kahuna yet. And there's so much more yet to learn.
Yeah.
But we have identified in scientific, just like you're talking about, you can change eye color, you can change hair color. I have a mentally ill daughter who is an adult, and when she gets angry, her eyes change color.
Isn't that interesting?
And because her biochemistry is changing.
Right.
And so, it's very dramatic too. And you see the personality types that come through when someone's in an altered state like that. Well, you have to remember, Chuck and Jerry, that meditation is an altered state of consciousness, and anything you want to create in the positive realm is also, when you're in that state of altered state or in that state of consciousness, you can not only, like you said, with golfers and bowlers and footballers and all of that, you can not only perceive and project the outcome, but you can shift paradigms. And the way we talk about it in spirituality is that if you don't like this paradigm, you move to the next one. Let me give you an example. If you're walking through, let's say you're in Walmart, and you see a father slap his 4-year-old daughter in the face, you have a couple of choices here, and this is the multiple paradigms that I'm talking about. You can either get in his face and say, you can't do that. You can walk away and do nothing. That would be another level. You can go and tell somebody in the store that he just abused his child, or you can make a call to the police. But what's the way to affect change? You literally see the bigger picture. You walk away for a few minutes. You come back and you suddenly spot the little girl. While she's crying, and you squat down and you say to her, you're the most beautiful child I have ever seen. Boy, I've always wanted a little girl like you. And you look up at the father, not with judgment, but with understanding and love. And you look up at him and you go, I bet you and your wife were so happy when this little girl was born. And you remind him of the love, of the kindness, of the goodness of this child. And you don't shame him, but at the same time, he's going to feel that. That's the shift in paradigms. You take it to a different level, not combative, not argumentative, but a way that will plant a seed, and then you move on. And again, you say, I bet your mommy and daddy are so proud of you, and you lift that child at the same moment. Well, the same is true and applicable with any kind of change you want to make in your own personal life.
Yes.
You literally shift the paradigm to a new level of expansion, a new level of imagination. Imagination really is the core of all of this.
Walt Disney.
And in a world of infinite possibilities, why do people keep creating the same thing over and over again? Because they don't expand their biochemistry. their neurology, like we're talking about neuroscience, they don't shift enough and change enough or expand enough. They stay limited in one little box, and then their biochemistry reacts to that same way of thinking.
And let's give another example. It goes back to the turn of the century. Henry Ford was very, very famous for saying that people are going to live up to or live down to your expectations of them.
That's right.
So one of the projects he's working on, I forget what year it was, but he started like in June or something like that, to build I think it was the V8 engine. And the engineers at the time were only used to inlines. They couldn't imagine that. And so they said, well, we can't be done. First mistake, right? Telling Henry Ford it can't be done. And he says, well, no, you guys got to figure it out. And so they're working on it. And finally, after 6 months of doing what you said about believing the misbeliefs, he put an ultimatum to him. He says, okay, we need this done by December 31st, or I'm going to hire a team that's going to figure it out. And by golly, they figured it out.
That's right.
Another example, Alan Turing, if you've seen the movie The Imitation Game, and if you haven't seen the movie The Imitation Game, for the love of Mike, watch that movie, because you talk about so many things about stereotypes and ability. Yeah. And here's a guy that should never figure this out. And one guy figured this thing out. But the obstacles he had to go through, the rejection, the whole bit. The Imitation Game, please watch The Imitation Game. But one thing happened there to where they had been working on this for about 2.5 years, and they were almost about ready to have the program terminated. And Commander Denniston said, you have 1 month. And by golly, 1 month, they got to figure it out. So it's interesting how, like you talk about, a dream is a goal with a deadline. So if you just have a dream, but you don't have a deadline, Jim Carrey had a day in the check. If you don't have a deadline, it's going to continue to be a dream. You've got to put that stopping point and say to your subconscious, this is when this has got to be figured out.
And at some point, you have to let it go. You pour all the energy into creating it. You do everything from affirmations to prayer to meditation to visualization to knowing. And then you let it go. You free it. Because once you release that energy, there's a lot of things waiting out there to attach to it that will help make it manifest. So you do have to let it go at some point. But again, there's a divine timing on everything.
Right.
You don't, I was talking to someone the other day because we were talking about what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
Because something happened last week that I had thought the thought 2 days before, and then it instantly happened. And I said, okay, so what came first, the chicken or the egg? And so we were talking about, the bottom line is a little bit of both. Because you're sending out that energy telepathically, and that person is picking up on it, or that idea is picking up on it, and you wind up literally creating exactly what you thought. It's really about understanding that if it doesn't happen the way you've pushed, if you've pushed with force, chances are you're not going to create it. If you've thought the thought with love or with...
That's huge.
It's really huge, because force will never create. Force will get you what you don't want, and it'll push you into a realm where, to be honest with you, there's going to be consequences to go along with what you've force created. But if you put it out there with a heart full of imagination and love and creativity and perhaps altruism, then it will create, and it will create a lot faster than if you push to try to get your way. You don't ever want to force. You want to generate. There's a big difference.
Okay, I have this one question though about that. When teaching people how to do a particular function, like in my capacity, I am an instructor at the post office. Okay, and there have been a couple of occurrences where I've had to show people how to do certain particular functions, and there was a refusal on their part. In other words, they were going to say, I can't do this, or I won't do this. And so I had to interject with them, well, if you want to keep your job, you have to do this. Okay? So with regard to that, in a roundabout way, I'm forcing them to do that. So how do you overcome that?
Well, there's a better way to say it, first of all.
Okay, I'm looking for it right now.
It's part of your job description, not if you want to keep your job. When you put a threat out there, you've just put a contention out. And when you do that, now you're the enemy. Now there's belligerence. Now there's resentment. Now you're building up a dynamic that's never going to produce.
But this was only a couple of times that I ran into this.
But you won't get production out of people that feel like they're being controlled.
And we didn't.
Yeah, no, of course you didn't. Duh. But if you say, it's part of your job description, and thank you for doing it well, and then you reward. Too many employers these days, they criticize and condemn instead of coming back and going, great job. You're doing a great job.
We face that at the post office all the time.
Well, a lot of employers do, right? I mean, anywhere you go.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah, I worked in radio full time for many, many years, and a lot of times it never came down to a situation. Well, gee, you're doing a wonderful job. It all came down to we're not going to pay you anymore. We're not going to. You're here to do a job, and that's it.
But
Boom.
that's the way the world is getting, and we have to get back to basics of being appreciative of each other and thanking each other and being kind and encouraging and inspiring versus inciting and annoying.
Well,
Right, exactly. Yes.
Let me just point this out. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
That sometimes you run into that situation, and you don't want to be in that position.
No.
And I firmly believe that myself.
That's why I work for myself.
Yep. And so when we come back, remind me, the three people I want to talk about is my daughter, who is making a change,
Yep.
Tony Robbins and Mother Teresa. Oh my gosh, what a combination. But it's going to be very relevant to what you've talked about. So remind me when we come back, we want to talk about my daughter, Mother Teresa, Tony Robbins.
Okay.
Does your daughter know we're going to talk about her?
Sounds
I'm
good.
listening to the show, so I know she listens every week when Dad's on there. I just know it, by golly.
Sure.
Most important part of the day. But right now, what's the most important part of your next 3 minutes is to get a piece of paper and a pen and write down the name, phone number, website of the sponsors this show, and make sure you use them when you need them. And we're going to be right back on Profiles of Success.
Success Radio USA is always looking for ways to help you succeed. Whether it's offering a word of encouragement or sharing practical information that can give you the competitive edge. So you'll want to pay close attention to this. Our new sponsor, the 365 Grand Club, can give you the edge when conducting business in downtown Colorado Springs. You might want to entertain a potential client or just show appreciation to a loyal business partner. Either way, your new 365 Grand Club card is your passport to downtown Colorado Springs. Your club card gives you access to discounts, business perks, making new business connections, and the convenient private concierge service that makes getting around town hassle-free. Enjoy the benefits of downtown with ease and prestige. Get your club card today by visiting www.365grandclub.com. That's 365grandclub.com. Get yours this week and join the club, the 365 Grand Club.
It gives clarity to problem solving. It increases production and focus on the job. It alleviates sleepless and restless nights and fends off stress and tension headaches. No, it's not the latest energy drink or health supplement. It's Legal Shield. Get peace of mind every day, every night, now and forever. Legal Shield. Get it.
To find out more about Legal Shield and how it can protect your family and your business, call Andrea at area code 719-243-3174. That's area code 719-243-3174. Legal Shield.
Hello, I'm Chuck Bader.
And this is Jerry Evans.
And you're invited to join us on Profiles of Success, where we feature stories of successful businesses and successful individuals.
You can find us on TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, or Stitcher by searching Success Radio USA. Or go to our website at successradio.us.
Our current program is available every day, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday. We air new programs on every Monday. These are programs which are designed to guide you along your path of success, to provide you with the information, the inspiration, and the motivation to achieve your goals. Right here on Profiles of Success on Success Radio USA. Welcome back to Profiles of Success. I'm your host, Chuck Bader, along with...
Jerry Evans. Yes, indeed.
And before I forget for the third time, Ariaa Jaeger, how in the world do people get a hold of you?
Come on, Ariaa, we want to know.
They can find me at aria.com.
And how do you spell
that? It's ARIAA.com.
2 A's like Amco.
ARIAA.com. And you can find all of my social media links there. You can find both my books, which have been bestsellers on Amazon there. And you can book a session or you can book a reading. I'm doing, for seasonal specials for New Year's, I'm giving 10% off on readings and on session work and healing your life or learning to meditate. 10% off on all session work right now, too, through January the 30th. So by all means, go to ariaa.com and find me there.
ARIAA, 2A's.com.
That's right.
All righty.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
before I forget a second time, so 3 things, practical application, my daughter, Tony Robbins, Mother Teresa. So when we talk about how do you change your vibrations and get the energy back up to a better level, one thing, and it's interesting, people talk about, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. Well, some of the things you do know how to do is cut back on negative social media. Oh my gosh, the trash. And so my daughter started doing that about a week ago, and she has noticed how much better she's feeling on just overall by cutting back on that stuff.
Yeah, social media has its good sides and its bad sides. I've been in it almost 10 years, and I had trolls and bullies as well. We all get them. If you have any weight whatsoever in social media or following, then you're going to get them. The thing is don't participate and don't react and don't respond to them, because they touch everybody. There are a group of people out there that's their whole life is trying to destroy others' lives.
Yep.
But you can overcome that by posting things that are inspirational, by posting things that lift others, or that right now I'm posting charities to donate, because Giving Tuesday is coming up on the 26th.
Oh, yay.
It's one of my favorite times of year because almost every charity across the board doubles or triples donations. And it's the time of year when I give the greatest, because environmental, animal, human charities, just right across the board, everybody's doubling and tripling donations, including WWF right now. And Starbucks is doing a promotion with them to double your donation. So you can post things that are helpful. There's a lot of people who are lonely throughout the holidays.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And you can invite somebody over to your table and share your feast with them. You can post things like that, or go volunteer at your local soup kitchen. There's a lot of need in the world today. And if we could just get people focusing on that, then the trolls will fall away, and you'll be able to inspire or uplift at least one person.
Well, early in the program you talked about the wildfires. That's another way that you can volunteer, is to go and help the people that have been left homeless.
That's right. There's so much need. The hurricanes, the shooting victims, you could send them a Christmas card. The families that have lost their loved ones. You can reach out in so many ways now, and social media does connect us all.
Right.
Where you can interact with. And by the way, when you're unhappy with the government or things that are going on there, you can actually tweet to the senators. I have a lot of senators in my feed that we interact with each other. You can tweet to them. You can write to them. You can call. There's so much more good to social media than the downside. But I think if everybody would just take a step back from vitriol and start softening yourselves again and be kinder and learn to focus on your own, what you're trying to create versus tearing down somebody else's creation. Focus on what is going to be productive and useful, whether it's in your own life or in the lives of millions or a few. Focus on that and not so much on criticizing and condemning and complaining. That keeps your frequency higher. Again, some of the other things we talked about, reading, educating yourself, meditating, yoga, tai chi, eating right, exercising, keeping a peaceful heart, keeping a loving mind, a grateful heart. Those are all things that will keep you higher in frequency. Anything that you condemn or criticize just lowers it. And remember, everything you think you're doing to another person, you really are doing to yourself. So be careful, because it's coming back.
But that's a good point. That's one of the easiest takeaways to this entire program is you may not understand the concepts of the neuroscience behind it and the frequencies and all that. But here's one thing that my daughter's doing, and I'm so proud of her, is, it's hard to give up smoking. It really is. It's hard to give up drinking. It's not that hard to give up social media. Stop looking at the negative stuff every single day.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big steps right today.
Oh,
would Tony Robbins and Mother Teresa agree?
Well, now let's talk about Tony Robbins, going back to what you talked about. So one of the interesting things is, and everybody talks about this, Tony Robbins, Jim Quick, Brian Tracy, whatever, but the first 20 or 30 minutes of your day are the most important to set the tone of your day. So think about 2 examples. Somebody wakes up and the first thing they do is bing, social media goes off and they're looking at that and they grab the coffee and they think about the stress. They're already lost for the rest of the day. The day is already running them before they've even got their feet on the floor, as compared to somebody who knows they've got this routine. Phone is totally off for the first 30 minutes and they get up and they'll meditate. Tony Robbins has his 15 minutes to flourish. And so he does it in 3-minute segments. So first 3 minutes, he'll think about gratitude. I'm so grateful my son did this, my wife did this, we have this opportunity. So 3 minutes of gratitude, then 3 minutes of accomplishments. What are my top 5 or my top 10 things I want to do today? And so he already sees those as being done. It's not, boy, I hope I get this done. It's like, okay, here's what I need to do, and here's how it was done. And then the last part of the segment is the empowerment, the breathing exercises he goes through. So when you set yourself up like that for the first 30 minutes, you've seen Tony Robbins do this consistently for 30 years, and it's been working for him amazingly.
Well, and yes, absolutely. I know some of these tools are so simplistic, and yet they're so effective. There is a formula that does work. And, you know, if you're setting goals, obviously, if you're really, really implementing the energy that you need to create those goals will create. I have a psychological survey that I give to my clients, and 2 of the questions are, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And where do you see yourself in 10 years? And you'd be surprised at how many people can't answer the 10-year one.
Right.
You'd be surprised because people don't see that far ahead.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was a meme this morning on Twitter of an old lady dancing, and she had to have been 100 if she was a day. And the girl had captioned it, where I see myself in 10 years. You know, and so, you know,
was she 90?
Yeah, she was a senior. So she was, you know, focusing on this is going to be my reality. And I think if you do keep a positive viewpoint in terms of how you see yourself and how you present to the world, because remember, people get caught up in vitriol and they don't see themselves in a mirror when they're spewing it. But if you actually looked at yourself in a mirror when you're being ugly or criticizing, and you see how ugly criticizing others and complaining and condemning makes you physically, it alters your face. It alters the lines on your face. The sparkle in your eyes leaves you. You know, I think there's enough vain people in the world that if they just watch themselves be nasty for 5 minutes, they'd never be nasty again.
Right. And you know what the interesting too is now with functional MRIs, we can actually see that in real time. Yeah. So you have somebody inside of a functional MRI machine, magnetic resonance imaging.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. But anyway, as they're doing these things, you'll see the brain physically change. So again, this is not just thoughts or soft stuff. This is physical stuff. So when the brain is changing, what is the reaction of that? The physiology. Is your cortisol and adrenaline going up, or is it dopamine and things like that going up? So it's so important, just the thoughts and how we're able to track those now.
And thoughts are things. And again,
they are things, yes. It's a reality. It's a tangible.
It is. And your thought is the most important thing you will ever produce. And if you took it that way every day, your thought is the most important thing you will ever produce. You would think far more deliberately. You would retract the things that you know are derogatory or negative or that are not helpful. You know, I have another quote that says, at sunset, I ask myself 3 questions. And again, we all should. You know, did I make a difference in someone's life today? Yeah. You know, ponder that one. You know, what did I add that's lasting today? And can I do better? Was there something I could have done differently, or can I do better? And if you do ask yourself the questions, at the end of the day, if you assess yourself, you will start seeing a pattern in your own behavior. Right. And when you start seeing that some of your own dysfunction is bleeding into your actions every day, you'll start addressing the dysfunction and healing that, polishing your own personality, and delivering a better you to the world every day.
So let's throw in 2 more characters along with Mother Teresa. Ben Franklin did what you talked about. First question in the morning is, what good shall I do today? Last question in the evening is, what good did I do today? And you saw his, oh my gosh, success, right?
Yeah.
So now let's talk about Mother Teresa. And I also want to throw in Mr. Rogers because of the similarities. So when people are talking about, oh, how do I do, you know, vibrations and frequencies and all this kind of stuff? Well, let's start with just being a nice person, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at Mother Teresa and Mr. Rogers. Genuinely, and the funny thing about Mr. Rogers was, I thought it was all facade. I thought nobody can actually be that way off the camera, and the dude was, right? Did a documentary on him in 2018, an amazing story. But here's Mother Teresa, Mr. Rogers, and their heart was who they were. Very nice people. Frequencies must have been off the charts for that. But when we talk about the law of attraction, not from a metaphysical standpoint, but from a physiological standpoint. Right. So the things that Mother Teresa and Mr. Rogers were able to accomplish was because they were able to go to the physiology of anybody. So like when Mother Teresa would ask to go into a prison or something, when whoever had to grant the authority knew that she's doing this out of compassion and genuineness, there's no profit motives, there's no ulterior motives, whatever like that. It reaches in the compassion of our humanity. for lack of a better way of saying it, it's almost like Christmas time, right? The world is a better place at Christmas time. A little more loving, a little more brotherly companionship that you feel in December that you lose in January, oddly enough. But that's where Mother Teresa and Mr. Rogers were able to do this. So the lesson I'm trying to get to here is that the first thing you want to do to have a better quality of life, be a nice person.
Be a nice person. There's no
Don't
reward
criticize,
for doing the
don't
right
gossip.
thing. Do
Exactly.
it anyway. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, and kindness is, a lot of people in social media have come up from where they were 9 years ago when I started, 9 or 10 years ago. People are beginning to understand that if you feed the negative grows. If you feed the positive grows. And right now, we're in a very dark time in America. We need to feed the light. We need to feed love. We need to feed goodness. We need to feed kindness. We need to feed compassion and equality. And all of the things that matter, because we are humankind. We are the human race. And our survival is predicated on the goodness, on the love, on the actions of those that can make a difference and do every day. So let's reward and lift those up. And the ones that are negative and dark and doing things that are just unsavory, let them fall away, because they will. Carrie Underwood has a beautiful new song called Love Wins, and it does. In the end, love will always win.
So many stories.
So it's just a matter of contribute. You can either be, an instigator and incite, or you can be an inspirer and uplift. And so, which are you, peacemaker or peacebreaker?
Exactly. Yeah, that is so important.
I think you're talking about, when you're talking about love, you're talking about not just a love between a man and a woman or anything along like that. You're talking about love that you can expand to everybody.
Well, I do love everybody. It's always been a weakness.
It's been a strength, is what it's been. It's been a strength.
I do tend to love everybody, because I always look at this. I try to walk in their shoes. There before the grace of God go I. One of my favorite things to do is reward the garbage truck driver every year by giving him a tip several times a year. And the reason I do is because I have such respect for these men that do this garbage truck run every week. Because would you do that job? That's a hard job. So I'm grateful for him, because if he didn't pick up the trash, who would? So, it's looking at would I walk in someone else's shoes? And if you walk in their shoes, I guarantee you, your perception and your reality will change.
So now we're in the last 2 minutes, so I've got to force something in here. Sure. So here's one of the greatest things I've learned about this after studying for years is people say, well, how do I not be so angry all the time? And how do I overcome fear? Two big things in society, right? And so I finally figured this out. I've got the solution right here. Okay. So here's how you do it. One word. My daughter's been doing this. My brother's been doing this. The word is curiosity. Curiosity. So instead of getting angry, get curious about, why is Jerry doing this? What's going to cause him to do this? I want to get curious about that, because if I get curious about it, by golly, I'm smart enough to figure it out. And then, like you said, with the father slapping the daughter, I can provide a better solution. Also with fear, and this is what I deal with as a sales professional. I make my living on commissions. So when it comes time to become fearful, I can be fearful when I pick up the phone and that person rejects me, or I can get curious. Okay, what didn't I say the right way? What didn't I communicate the right way? Curiosity is a powerful, powerful way to overcome the fear and the anger solution. So make it a very, very intentional practice to start being more curious than you are angry, more curious than you are fearful. That's going to pull you through dramatically.
Well, absolutely. And asking why you're angry. Be curious about yourself. Why is this triggering you?
Well, we got to wrap up here. So once again, give your website and how people can get a hold of you.
Ariaa Jaeger, Ariaa.com, ARIAA.com. You can find me on all the social media sites from Instagram, Facebook. Just go to my website, Ariaa.com, and link up with me there. Would love to connect with all of you. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and a blessed Christmas and all of the other lovely holidays that come at this time of year for other nations.
Well, thanks for coming back on then. Boy, I wish we had more time. We're going to have to get you back on section 3.
Would love that. Thank you.
Well, again, happy holidays to everyone out there, and thanks for listening. Make sure you check in our show, apply curiosity and everything we talked about the show. Listen to it again and again and again, please, right now. And thank you so much for listening to Profiles of Success, and make sure that you do every day something to make sure that you keep moving forward.
Amen.
You have been listening to Profiles of Success on Success Radio USA with Chuck Bader and Jerry Evans, brought to you in part by the 365 Grand Club, Colorado Springs' only elite urban downtown club. So start enjoying the benefits of downtown with ease and prestige. Get your club card today at 365grandclub.com. That's 365grandclub.com. God bless you all, and see you next week on Profiles of Success.